prison.
There we go.
We built the walls for ourselves, and we keep ourselves in these little cages, and we don't have to do that anymore. I'm telling you that. Set yourself free. Live free. Drink some of the most amazing, fruit in a bowl. But they told us that the Campbell's soup pencil drawing from Andy Warhol is art. I want to say this to you guys out here, and I want you to listen to this. This is what I was telling everybody. It says, keep your boots laced up. I had that in quotations this week. Keep your boots laced up, okay, this week. We will have a few things popping off. Red flags will be coming fast. Keep your boots. TheJimPriceShow.com is the website. So TheJimPriceShow.com is the website. Jim Price at TheJimPriceShow.com is my email. Remember the 10% you do for your neighbor, community, city, county, state, the federal government. The more you do for them, the less they have to do for you. So learn how to be selfless and not so damn selfish. There will be a far better place.
You're listening to The Jim Price Show.
My name is Logan, and I'm listening to The Jim Price Show.
I'm Jim Price, and Jim Price Show Daily Update. I do appreciate you all tuning in. It is July 27th. It's a Wednesday, 2022. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. And you know what? I just screwed. Oh, no, I had us all tuned in. Phew. I've been trying to work on a couple things here at the last minute, and I kind of forgot where I was at. So, I'm here. I'm alive. And anyway, just as a couple of comments I'll make before we start my interview here, and I've been doing this kind of a different format lately. When I look at the idea the stock market rose by several hundred points today, even though they're talking about going to a 0.75% interest rate hike, which tells you that they're trying to figure out how to slow inflation down, which is actually the dumbest thing ever. It's like you set a steam engine rolling downhill, on fire, no brakes, and you're thinking, you know what, if I put this umbrella out here, this will slow us down. This is how stupid the feds really are, that they believe we are, they believe that most people are. And then they know they're printing the stuff out of fictitious air. There's nothing real about it. But the idea the stock market goes up when they say they're going to raise rates by 0.75 point, guys, listen, the next couple of days, there is no way they're going to be able to keep this. I don't care how much money they pump into the stock market. They're trying to save their buddies. That's all they're doing. They're throwing out life rings for their buddies. They're doing all this try to stuff to where you will still stay in the stock market. And that way all the big guys can get all their money out of it and then watch it pop. And you're sitting there left holding the bag. And that is what the intention is. It's a good old boys club. I'm sorry it's that way, but that's how we've built the system. The system was never meant for our success. It was always for their success. And what a great lottery, what a great casino, what a great pyramid scheme they've really created, where we're going to end up holding the bag and really have nothing to show for it. All the stuff that was spent and done, it was all for just a little bit of pleasure and a little bit of power, and it really doesn't get them anywhere. But anyway, so on that, I'm going to go ahead and Ed, he is here. I'm going to let him introduce himself, his website, and then we'll go from there. So go ahead, Ed.
My name is Edward Renfroe. I am running for Oregon House of Representatives District 2. And District 2 changed this year due to Oregon redoing all the districts. It's actually weird. District 2 split up about 20-some miles. They spread it a good 30 miles to the east and west, if not more than that. Actually, right. It goes toward Diamond Lake. So they've really, really messed with everything here.
What's the major cities in your district there? What's what we can sound? Town
actually, I can name almost all of them that are in part of Myrtle Creek's in it, part of Tiller, Drew, Dry Creek area, Roseburg. They cut into pieces. I mean, literally, like it goes here, goes over toward what they call the Melrose area, comes back into Roseburg, cuts down I-5, cuts back behind the fairgrounds, then it cuts back over. It's really weird how they did this. Sutherland, Elkton, Drain, the whole Glide area up 138 to Diamond Lake, and Oakland area. So it's most of Douglas County.
Right. Well, so when we reference your districts and you're saying they did the gerrymandering or the redistricting, this is for them to try to maintain the control. So those that are in control redo the map so they maintain control, and it's all this uphill battle. Do you have any other candidates that are going to be running against you on your Republican side?
Virgil, I believe his last name is Golden, and he's a Republican, and I'm a Constitution Party.
Oh, okay.
Last several years,
Go ahead.
unfortunately, especially here in Oregon, um, it seems like a lot of the Republicans have been telling people what's actually going on up in the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm looking farther and farther into this, more and more the bills that I've never heard of that are now passed and have been passed in the last several years, it really has shown me that there should have been more public notice on just about every bill that I've seen.
Right.
Um, one of them that really, really infuriates me is if anybody doesn't know about Oregon, here in August, September, October of 2020, we had some very severe fires. Nobody knew this beforehand, but Highway 22, which goes from Salem up to Central Oregon to the Detroit, Mahima, Gates area. Highway 126 that goes from Eugene up through the Blue River, McKenzie area, up to Sisters area, and Highway 138 from Roseburg all the way up to the Diamond Lake area were put under what is called wild and scenic corridors.
Sounds
So now
romantic.
these people that are
Sounds romantic, but it sounds like the
that,
government's going to come in and do something they shouldn't, sounds like.
well, all these people that were burned out of their homes
Right.
now have to follow all these new laws. And these people have been in these homes for generations. This isn't just new homes. These people have owned these lands for generations.
Right.
And now they have to follow all these brand new rules, different foundations, different this, different that. They're going to have to spend money that their fire insurance will never cover
Right.
to get their homes back on their own land. They weren't grandfathered in by anybody. Brzezinski, who was our Senate rep, didn't get in the House district people that were here before, didn't get these grandfathered in.
Right.
And it makes me wonder why. Why would you do a dissatisfaction to your constituents, to the Oregonians that way?
Right. Well, you think about that, you always got to follow the money. So you got to see who's going to do a land development in the area, who's going to put in a, water park or a ski slope or whatever it is, and you got to start looking at these scenic views that maybe they want to sell off to somebody for $1 million an acre, as opposed to what they had there before. A lot of it's just called they do these fires aren't always they don't seem to always be nature made, it seems like, and it does seem to displace certain people. So now that you're going to say, well, you got to put in $1 million house where you had a $200,000, $300,000 house before, you can't even go back into your neighborhood because they've priced you out of it. It's similar to gentrification.
And I have been in Oregon for 43 years. I was born in Northeast Oregon. My family was ran out. My dad and my uncles lost their logging business. My dad and mom lost the saw shop. My mom and dad ended up divorcing due to stress from loss of everything due to the spotted owl epidemic, as I call it.
Yeah, see, I was framing when the spotted owl came around in the early 90s, and I remember, like, spotted owl, and I knew back then it's got, like, a home range of, like, 100 miles, and so to say the spotted owl, we can't cut these trees down, it cut off huge forestry where you used to go in and you cut down the bad trees, you cut down the old trees to allow for the forest to be more healthy, but then the spotted owl suddenly said, oh, well, we can't do that. Everything in the entire northern Arizona's got huge logging in it, and yet, it shut a lot of people down. Nobody wants to talk about the spotted owl caused us to have a huge housing cost increase, and that affected the lumber industry, obviously, as well.
All three mills in the county that I grew up in are at concrete foundations or concrete slabs. They don't even exist anymore.
Wow.
So coming from that Oregon, the 80s and 90s, where our schools were over budget, never had deficits for our schools. We didn't have all these classes being cut. This is the thing that I want for the next generations. And I realize what I start now, what I fight for now, it isn't going to improve for me.
Right.
It's going to take years. We have these huge wildfires that happened in 2020 that should have been logged. Everything that doesn't have needles on it, that isn't alive, should have been logged out, replanted. We keep hearing of carbon issues here in Oregon.
Right.
Well, dead black trees do not take carbon out of the air. So if we want to go with that route of the carbon issues, we have to log and replant to have trees that take carbon out of the air.
Right.
Plain and simple. Dead trees don't do that. Not that Oregon really has a carbon issue, anyways. We have more in between our farms, our forestry, gardens, our now marijuana and hemp grows. We take more carbon out of the air than we produce in a year.
Right.
So this whole carbon issue in Oregon, a lot of things that need to be pointed out to the public, but if we really want to get down to carbon issues, we have to have live trees take carbon out of the air, folks. It's fact. I'm not trying to. I don't want to get into the blame game on these politicians and these policies. We could do that all day long, and I feel that's half of what's been wrong with this.
Yeah.
Is everybody wants their ways? Well, when does it become about Oregonians instead of politics and egos?
Right. Well, that's what we're seeing, that the EPA ruling from the Supreme Court, the gun rule from the Supreme Court, the Privacy Act called Roe versus Wade with the Supreme Court says that the individual states have sovereignty over all this stuff, and that we're supposed to make those decisions. So it sounds like we need some more people that are going to be in Oregon's legislature that says, hey, we come first. It's us first, and the rest of the world can figure it out. Yes, you're part of a republic, a union, but at the same time, it's the idea that we need to be mindful that this individual state rights come first, and the federal government can suck eggs. We've got other things to worry about. And I think one of the things that we've missed is that I tell people this constantly on the show. CO2 is emitted out of CO2 emitters they have inside of greenhouses, the very peak of it, because CO2 falls to the ground and the nutrients go into the leaves and the roots of those plants. The problem is that, as heavily forested that, Oregon is, how much forestry land is really there. I can't imagine that you guys can't outdo that. But if you're not going into areas and taking out the dead, burning out the needles, getting the ground refreshed, pulling the fungus out of those trees with allowing certain forest fires to go through and get rid of fungus and algae that actually kill pine trees. I mean, if we don't get in there and let nature do its thing and then help nature along, it's all going to turn to nothing, because it'll all rot in place because it's not being handled healthily. But then to say we have carbon emissions or CO2 emissions, those are all just shiny objects to get you confused about what we're really talking about. It's about control. I mean, to say that there's three lumber yards or 3 lumber mills that are sitting there at concrete level, that there is no machines left on it, is actually absolutely stupid. We're right now 6 million homes behind in America. 6 million homes right now. We don't have inventory. We need 6 million more homes in inventory just to be equal with what we have. Yet we're shutting lumber mills down and concentrating power to certain entities. That's crazy. And that's why we need to have individual state rights and individual states coming in and helping themselves first instead of worrying about Big Brother in a faraway land.
Well, it's the faraway land. A lot of our lumber and logs have been shipped over to Japan and stuff. And I don't get it. Mm-hmm. Because if we went in and logged these fires, and I'm not even talking about what's standing that needs to be thinned out, that needs the old growth cut out of it, that's dead and dying or infested. And here in Oregon, we have everything from pine trees to what's called western larch or tamarack. Mm-hmm. We have hemlock fir, we have Doug fir, we have cedar. Oregon's a very diverse state as lumber goes, because we go from the high desert clear down to the ocean.
Right.
But if we go in and take out the dead and dying, leave the good stuff, replant from what we take out, it's just like a crop. Mm-hmm. It's just like hay, it's just like barley, it's just like wheat, it's just like anything else.
Right.
You replant, you replenish the soil, you help things grow, you take out what doesn't need to be there, and you just make it into a crop system.
Right.
These fires that we have had that came through and just devastated. And I mean, like, for 50 miles, there's so much more stuff that's black burned than has been burnt under.
Right.
Like, I mean, from ground up, it's black. Everything. Trees have no needles, no nothing. You go in, you log it, you replant it, you put fresh stuff into the ground. All that nitrogen, all that ash that's there sitting there waiting to help something grow. You have all this stuff that's ready to make a better forest if you go in and log it, replant it. And, I've had people that disagree with me. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I've been part of a logging family from the time that I was born in Northeast Oregon, a little town called Wallowa.
Right.
I've seen it. I've watched it. My dad retired here a couple years ago from mill because obviously our family lost our home. I've seen these mills like Seneca Sawmill, Roseburg Forest Products, Roseboro. They go in, they log, they replant. Yes, if it's replanted now, people are like, well, it's not going to do any good for you. No, it's not. No, I realize in 40 years, here I am 43, about 40 years or so, I'll be dead. I'll be gone.
Right.
But what's it going to do for my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids? I know I'm looking generations ahead, but if we want to leave something spectacular and great behind for the next generations, we have to take care of it now.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you talk about like this thing, what is your opponent that? So you don't have an opponent, right? You just because you're not.
Well, there's two. There's a Democrat. He hasn't really said anything. Virgil Golden. I've looked for Virgil's stuff. He's a Republican, and he hasn't really put anything out like I have. He's got some stuff on Facebook and on his site. He says he wants to hold the U.S. government accountable for their stuff, but it takes more than just making the U.S. government accountable because there's something I saw out of Arizona. I don't know if you've been familiar with it, but it's called the Apache County Resolution, where the Apache County went to court and they took control of the local national forest that was in that county, went in and started logging it, replanting it, and dealing with the forest management properly for their county. And it's something I think that Douglas County, Oregon needs to look at. It's something I think Lane County, Oregon needs to look at. It's something I think Marion County, Oregon needs to look at. And there's several other counties I think needs to look into this because if they take control, they let companies go in and log this stuff. Not only are we going to have the timber taxes going into our system here in the state, we have the taxes that are taken from everybody that's working these jobs, the loggers, the mill workers. I mean, as you know, you bring in more people that are working, more money is spent locally, more money gets put into the local system, the schools, the county, the state. It's a cycle of we're putting more money back into our local system.
Right. Well, you're buying jobs. When you buy local, you buy local jobs is how you think of it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your local jobs support local communities, which makes more local jobs.
Right.
And that's what I've been looking at is what can we do here in Douglas County to make this better? And people are like, well, you need to look at this. You need to look farther ahead. You need to look at what it does for the state. Right now, nobody knows who I am.
Right.
I'm just a blue-collar guy trying to help make a difference, and that's all I am. I'm not a politician. People hate me when I say this, but I'm going to say this again, and I've said it multiple times. I hate politicians and I hate politics.
Right.
Because the politicians and the politics stop looking at what the local people need and what the people around them need, whether it be Oregon, Idaho, Washington, Montana, Arizona, and Texas. It seems like the politicians stop paying attention to the local people.
Right. Well, a lot of that I think has to do with the fact that they can be wined and dined all they want, and they get bought out, right? It's not really, and no one ever goes in and says, "Hey, for everything you bring to me from now on, I'm just going to vote your way." But it's the little touches, it's the little things where they go in and they mess with somebody, and they get them to actually change their mind, or they give them a little cash, or they give them this or that, and next thing you know, the guy's completely out of his mind, voting for things that he would never vote for because, well, he took some money here, he took some money there, or he let this go or let that go, and next thing you know, they've cornered themselves.
I'll tell you this much, and I will tell this to everybody. what I would make as a representative and the per diem that I would make being in Salem for how many ever days a year
Right.
is more than enough for me and my family. Do I want? I've asked for 0 donations. Jim, I'll tell you that. I haven't asked a person for donations, period.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out how to run this on my own dime in my own time because I don't want anybody to say, oh, I did this for you. I did that for you.
Right. That's exactly right.
I don't want that.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of stuff where a guy, you know, he buys them a dinner or he buys them this or buys them that, and all of a sudden, you know, he's he has to do whatever that guy asked, right? I didn't give you that drink for free, or I didn't give you that steak for free. There's always something on the other end. There's always a fishing line on the end of that hook, right?
That's the way it seems, and I don't want that.
Right.
I want people to be able to look at me and go, he doesn't care what they say. He wants what's best for Oregonians.
Right.
I am, you know, I'm trying to think back, but I know my mom is like a 4th or 5th generation Oregonian.
Right.
My grandfather, her dad was originally from LeGrand, Oregon. He was a military person. He was in the Navy for 30 years. He came back after his naval service and retired in Wallow, Oregon.
Wow.
My dad is a 2nd generation. I'm a 3rd generation. My kids are 4th generation.
Right.
On my dad's side. My grandkids, I have grandkids.
Wow.
They're 5th generation Oregonians. I want for my grandkids and my great grandkids to have the Oregon that I grew up with.
Right.
The Oregon that was sustainable, the Oregon that didn't care really what the U.S. government was handing to us. We had it taken care of because we had the jobs. We had the lumber industry. We had everything to make Oregon move forward.
Right.
And that's the Oregon that I want for my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. And people are going to say, well, what's it going to help now? Well, what I do now may not help immediately.
Right.
But as these trees get planted, they're taking in CO2. And we're talking over 1 million acres needs to be logged, salvage logged. Let's put it that way. Because not everything needs to be taken down. No, it didn't kill every tree. But the ones that are dead need to be taken out and replanted. The ones that are not going to take out CO2 out of the air and grow and help with everything in the future, they need to be taken out. We need to make Oregon sustainable to itself.
Right. Well, and see, people seem to think that we don't need this. We don't need it. It doesn't take a village, right? We don't have to have all these different things outsourced to everybody else. You know, there's a lot to be said about living within that 20 square miles you grow up around. It's not hard to do, and the thing is the more you do for that, the better it'll be for the future. You know, build that base that is, you know, indestructible, that always has a job and always has something to come back to.
Right. And it's like, unfortunately, when these conservation groups come in with like the spotted owl or whatever little squirrel, I can't even remember what it's called over on the coast,
right,
that they're griping about now, that do they realize the jobs they're destroying, the families they're destroying, the good men and women they're destroying because they want to make this not usable anymore? But they don't seem to understand. The more you don't use our forests in Oregon, the more storms roll through. 2019, we had a horrible storm they call Snowmageddon, Snowpocalypse,
right,
whatever people want to refer to it by. But there are up what's called Highway 58 here in Oregon. We had 1,000 trees a mile across a major highway that connects Central Oregon to I-5.
right,
From Highway 97 to I-5. 1,000 trees a mile along a road that has been thinned out and maintained. Now think about what that meant in the forest in these mountains.
right.
How many trees per mile? There was trees stacked up you wouldn't believe. I went back on some of these roads. And I mean literally like trees, walls of trees that you couldn't get through. Walls of trees you couldn't see over.
Wow.
The roads have been cleared. Like you can drive up the roads. The sides of the roads have to be cleared. They haven't went up there and logged it. They haven't taken these trees out of the forest mills. Everything's just sitting there waiting for the right flame to come through.
Right. And it wouldn't take much,
More
right?
devastation.
Would not take much.
Weeks like this week in Oregon, where we're 100 degrees or better almost all week long,
Right.
those trees have been sitting there now for 3 years on the ground.
Well,
What's going to happen
a lot of them
sooner or
are going to
later?
be no good. They're going to be rotted out. They won't be worth anything.
Well, the great thing about like green trees that fall like that is they're good for a few years. Yes, they dry out and are a little harder on the saws going through, because the drier your fir tree, the harder they are when
Right.
they go through a saw. So yeah, they'll have to go through more saw blades, but they could still be used. Now these fires, if they let these fires sit here, black trees, yeah, a few years they're going to fall over, they're going to rot.
Mm-hmm.
But for the next several years, it's just going to stand there and be already dry, kilned wood. You get this brush growing up around it. The next fire that comes through is just going to be that much more intense.
Yeah. Well,
And I'm trying to explain
and the
to
one thing
people
is
about
that fires are not bad. I don't understand why we've all demonized the forest fire. The forest fire has to happen. It has to renew the soil. It has to renew the pine trees. I mean, that the flames going through the pine trees helps get rid of the fungus that usually ends up killing most of them. There's a blight that can go through these and kill them, and if you let those fires go through there, it gets rid of most of that stuff.
Well, it's not just the pine trees, though. Over here, where it's been dense forest, dense brush,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't just go through and take out this stuff. It literally, like, the trees are black top to bottom. There's no limbs left. There's no needles left. They are dead done.
Mm-hmm.
Because they let it grow so much. They didn't do the control burns. You're talking about like control burns. You go through, you burn the underbrush, all that. They didn't do that down here. These fires raged for a month. We had ash falling on vehicles 30 and 40 miles from these fires.
Wow.
Like, if you go through, you get a chance to go through, look at the Archie Creek fire, the Beachy Creek fire on YouTube. You'll see the videos. I mean, towns 40 and 50 miles away from these fires could not see the sun because there was so much smoke and ash in the air from these fires. They burned so intense. And we had one down in the Talent area, down by Phoenix and Talent in Oregon. We had the Archie Creek fire. We had the Beachy Creek fire, and then we had more. What was the home? Oh, can't remember the one that was up in McKenzie, but then the one from the Beachy Creek spread clear over toward almost Oregon City, almost in the Portland area. It was so intense. And these fires burned like this forever, it seemed like. And it just, like I said, the last 2 years here in Oregon, we are well over 1 million acres. Well over.
Well, okay, so let me ask you a question. What if the local guys just went in and started snatching wood out of the tree, out of those areas, cleaning those areas up? What would happen if everybody just started doing that and told the government to basically go pound sand? Would they be stopped from trying to clean up the forest themselves?
The Forest Service over here has already closed off roads inside these fires. They are. I've got stuff on my YouTube. Okay.
Right.
Just look up Edward. Just look up Edward Renfroe for the number 4 Oregon on YouTube, and there are literally videos of where the Forest Service roads are blocked off. I have videos of driving through the old burns. I have videos of all the water where they say we had drought this last year. I have videos where they haven't even cleaned up the roadside where we have rock slide along a major highway. They're literally closing up Forest Service roads that are inside these fires.
So they're just abandoning ship then?
Yeah. And, the Forest Service here, yes, you can go out and get a firewood permit, okay?
Right.
But you only have certain areas where firewood cutting is allowed. 90% of what's inside these fires, there isn't a firewood cutting. And they can fine you if you're not in that firewood cutting area.
But that to me sounds almost backwards of the idea that it's like, hey, there's going to be a bunch of people who want to go clean this up, even if it just goes for firewood or mulch or whatever it is. But the environment itself is going to be far cleaner and more sustainable if you go in and get rid of all that stuff, right?
I tried this in 2019. I called the local Forest Service. I called the local BLM. Told them about the roads that we found were blocked and everything else up on what's called Dana Ridge outside of Durina, Oregon. We were told not to go cut it because some of the trees might snap back and hurt somebody. So when you're going up and cutting firewood, you're taking your own care and custody of yourself anyways.
Right. So now it's a safety issue. We don't want you to go in there because of safety. We got to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And last time I checked, I don't think anybody who goes out and cuts down trees for a living was thinking about how safe the job really is. They're looking for a job. They know how to do their job. They know how to stay alive. But again, the safety stuff, I mean, what about, I worked construction for, almost 40 years. I've walked ridge lines and trusses and everything else. There's an inherent risk with everything, and that's what you do. That's what men do. We go out and do our job. So don't tell me you're worried about a widowmaker or it's, snapping or whatever, a release point, blah, blah, blah. That's what you plan for. You know those things. It's such a lazy argument. Obviously, the person who's run that forestry area out there doesn't understand how to cut a damn tree down. Maybe they need to go get a job and understand what it takes.
It's not that. This was the National Forest Service office I'm talking about.
So
this is how they are trying to keep people out of the woods.
It's ridiculous.
The National Forest Service is literally blocking roads inside and outside of fires. You can't get through certain roads. They're cutting off fire access. They're cutting off access to disabled hunters. There's a lot going on down here.
Right.
There's a lot. And I could stay here and go on all day about it. But
right.
Now it's finding somebody that wants to fight this.
Yeah. Well, and that's who has the stomach for it. But what is the big lobbyist in your area that's shutting that down? Who does it benefit to not log? Who's actually getting this? Is it other states, or is it concentrating it to certain lumber mills or certain processors? Why is it that this is why is this happening? Who's controlling this? There's things I can watch in Kansas and other states I can see where there's an industry that's...
There's conservation groups here in Oregon. Every time they get an area shut down, it gets turned into wilderness.
Oh.
Nobody gets to touch it. You want to know what they're trying to do with Oregon? You really know in my opinion, what they're trying to do? They're trying to close off enough of it to where they can get all of us blue-collar people out of here and make this a retirees state.
Right. Well, someone's going to have to work the counters, though. They can't get rid of everybody. That's the sad part of this. And whatever payoffs or whatever these people are getting, excuse me, that may be a couple $100 or a couple $1,000. It's not worth shutting an entire state down. I don't get that. I've never ever understood that. Even I get that there's people can be bought off, but the payout amounts cannot be significant enough in this to be able to make it worth selling your soul out or selling out Oregon.
The payout amounts that they're taking, and I don't know exactly what they are. Like I said, I still got a lot of investigating to do. I got kind of thrown in this. The people that run what's called Oregon Pushback asked me to run this year. Right. They knew that my heart and soul, I was part of the Kate Brown recall in 2019. The guy that runs Oregon Pushback came to me and says, "You need to run."
Right.
He says, of all the people I've heard, of all the people around, he said, your heart and soul that showed in 2019. He said, you love this state and you love the people. He says, you're not going to give your soul away for what these other people are doing.
Right. Hey,
and I won't sell my soul out.
What's the website for your, do you have a website?
No, I do not. I just have a Facebook page.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
it's Edward Renfroe for Oregon also. Yeah. I don't have, like I said, I don't have the money for web pages and people. I'm running this literally. I work a 40-hour-a-week job.
Right.
And I have a son that I have full custody of. I have other people kids I help take care of. And now I'm campaigning.
Right.
I'm a full-time dad. I'm a full-time working stiff. And now I'm campaigning, trying to make a difference.
Right. No, I understand that, man. It's 1,000 paper cuts to your soul when you go through the whole gauntlet of, trying to run for office. So you won't have a primary, or you will have a primary here coming up in August?
Um, the Constitution Party does not have a primary.
Okay.
We have a steering committee or a nomination committee that nominates candidates,
Right.
and then those candidates go on to the general ballot. I was nominated in May, on May 21st, just after the regular primary.
Mm-hmm.
I was nominated for Oregon House of Representatives District 2
Very good.
to be the nominee for it. And I've taken that to heart.
Right.
There's a lot of backbiting and a lot of different things going on here in Oregon. I really don't want to be a part of. I want to move on from it. I want to concentrate on what I've got to concentrate on.
Right. Well,
But
and
the
that's
political backbiting, the political BS that I see, I don't like. And I know I'm going to have to deal with it if I want to actually make a difference.
right.
That's
Well-
not something I like to see.
Yeah. Oh no, I get it, man. It's a sad deal that we have to, you have to be cautious about some things you're saying. You're having to be cautious about, well, your money and these kind of things. It's like, why should it be so difficult? You should be able to put your name on a ballot and, you know what, put your hat in the ring. It should be that simple. It should not be millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars or even $1. It should be just the guy who is known by reputation that he's a good guy, that he's going to do the right thing. That right there should be enough. But yet we realize that this whole thing is a big old money laundering scam. It's a lot of us going out there and doing more than we should, or having to put ourselves out there more than we should. I hate the fact that money has just screwed up politics the way it has, because not only are you, it's like you're paying to get in there so you can get paid back. And a lot of these guys, you see these guys walking around and they don't seem to have a job, and they got a new suit on, and they're always in the, rented this or a bus or all these other things. Like, where do you get all this money? I mean, someone has to be giving you all this cash just to pull this off. And so that means that on the other side, you got all this stuff on the front side. On the back side, they're going to want all their votes. They're going to want you to vote a certain way. And that's such a shame that our
Right.
politics have gotten that way.
See, and that's the thing I don't want. I've been asked, why don't you ask for donations? Why didn't you go to this business, that business? I don't want to owe anybody.
Right.
What I want to owe to is the Oregonians, the people that vote for me to get into office. I need to do the best by them, and them only. That's it. You should only have to look out for the people that you are representing. You shouldn't have to look out for this business or this conservative group or this party or that party.
Mm-hmm.
What good does that do? Are you doing anything good for the people you're representing?
Right.
And
Well-
that has been my biggest, you know what? I don't want to be part of that group. I've seen too much of it. I saw what it did to my hometown. Not only did I see what it did to my hometown, I saw what it did to that county.
Right.
My hometown was 810 people when I graduated high school. My graduating class was 31.
Wow.
Yes, it's a very small town. The high school was just over 400 kids due to all the farmlands in Lostine, Oregon, which was 7 miles away. But from K through 12 was over 400 kids. Now K through 12 in that same school is like 100 and some kids.
Wow. Well, that's a shame that that's happening that way.
Half the kids.
Yeah.
Because of these conservation groups, these environmental groups, whatever you want to call them. When you start affecting that many people's lives and destroying people, I can't have that on my soul when I wake up every morning, Jim.
Right.
I want to be able to look in the mirror. I want to be able to look at my kids, my grandkids, and say, I'm doing the best I can for you and for the people around us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to wake up in the morning going, damn, really? I almost completely shut a county down because I voted one way. Dang, how many people lost their jobs because I voted this way?
Yep.
Because I owe these people? I couldn't live with myself.
Right. Well, and that's a shame that we even have to think about having that conversation. Like, Like, we have to have that much disappointment that there isn't other people out there carrying the mantle. You know, there's not 1,000 people on the ballot right now. I mean, that tells me something's wrong out here. If there's unopposed people, if there's things going out there, not just like talking about going unopposed in the primary, but there's like other people that are going to be automatically seated into a public office because no one else bothered to run. And that, to me, is terrifying, that we are this lethargic about actually going out and doing something about the politics around us.
Well, that's a problem though. Is everybody has seen what the political world has come to, the backbiting, the hatred, the I'm going to tear you everything you've ever done since you were a kid apart and put it in the public eye.
Right.
And I already had somebody try to do that to me. I did, and that was okay. Don't have a clean past. Back in 2008 and 9, after losing a daughter, having my daughter pass away, a cousin, my grandfather, a woman that was like my sister, and the woman I thought I could never live without passed away in 2008. I got 2 DUIs in 8 months up in Northern Oregon, up in Marion County. And the guy would threaten me. He's like, "Remember, you have a past. I'll use it against you." Okay, fine. I'll put my past out there. Am I proud of it? No.
Right.
Do I regret it? Yes. But am I going to hide it? No.
Well, and that's one of the things I tell you that I suffered with when I was going through my stuff is that, when you start having your stuff kind of put out there, you feel a little filleted like a fish on the old wash sink there. They just keep, cutting a little slice off of you, and it just seems like you're getting cut to pieces. And I understand that sometimes that's what the ball, the way the ball bounces, right? But at the same time, why are we demonizing so many people's other actions of their past, but we're not even holding those that are currently doing what they're doing wrong right in front of our face, yet we're going to talk about something from 30 and 40 years ago or even 10 years ago. I mean, when is that ever paid back? The debt society that the people pay for anything is horrible, but then to try to run somebody through the mud about it again, it's even worse, and it's a sad state. And again, it shows us kind of the idea that our system is completely broken when it's about mudslinging and not about what you want to do to make things better. Not, I have a better idea than this guy. I have a better idea than that woman. This is the craziness that we can't even stand on our own morals and say, I am this guy and this is what I want to do for Oregon or Kansas or wherever. And it's demonized.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's like I was asked a few weeks ago by somebody, how am I better than the other 2 people running? I can't say I'm better than anybody.
Right.
I won't sit here and tell you I'm the best person in the world. But what I can say to the people in District 2 and the state of Oregon that are seeing this and the people that are listening is one thing. Who are you going to find that loves Oregon more than I do?
Right.
Who are you going to find that wants to make sure for generations ahead of us, not the here and now. The here and now, anything we do is going to take 10, 20, 30, 40 years to really implement it.
Right.
Relogging our forest to get it up to where they can even think about thinning it out after they replant it. We'll be 10, 20 years away. Okay? So anything we do now affects the generations ahead of us. So it affects our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids. What do we want to leave for them?
Right.
How much do we love this state? How much do we love the people around us to make a difference for them? Because it ain't going to really affect us. And that's what everybody seems to think. Oh, the here and now. Well, anything we do here and now ain't really going to affect what happens to us.
Right.
Except for maybe jobs, to make even better jobs. And, I can't say I disagree with the wind farms and the solar panels because they have proven that the solar panels creates a cooler environment underneath those. That would make more areas for different things to grow and whatnot. But these electric cars that suck up a whole lot of carbon to be made, the batteries that have to be replaced.
Right.
I can't agree with all of that. I can't agree with mining the lithium and making these great big lithium mines and all of that. Everybody talks about the carbon it takes to produce stuff. How much carbon do you folks think it's going to take to run a lithium mine and pull all that out of the ground with the dump trucks, the crushers, the front loaders, the track hoes, the dozers? You know,
Right.
I've looked at all of it. If you can't tell, I've looked at all these things and tried to investigate to the best of my knowledge at this point. You know, and I'm going to make videos on like each subject: our schools, our veterans, our homeless veterans, and how we can help them. Our veterans and how our veterans are being treated is one thing that really got me into this year.
Right.
You know, our veterans are not being taken care of.
Right.
And they need to be. These men and women have risked their lives. They've spent more time away from their families than me, you, or a normal person can ever think of.
Right.
They've given up some of them, their kids' first steps.
Yeah.
Their kids' first words, their kids' first days of school, their kids' graduations, sports events, 16th birthdays. Some of them have missed their own children getting married.
Yeah.
Missed the birth of their grandkids because they're giving you and I and the citizens of America their every last moment. And they're being treated like crud when they come back here. They're not being taken care of.
Right.
You know, our kids, the education they are being offered, it's like if they want anything, including trades, they need to go to college. So they have to spend all this extra money. What happened to welding classes and shop classes and auto classes? And why not put some kind of culinary classes in high school?
Right.
Let's give our kids a better future.
Yeah, absolutely.
A brighter future. Let's take care of our veterans. Let's take care of the forest. Let's take care of the things that need to be cared for. And the rest will fall in line. It's not a real hard concept.
Right. Well,
You
and
know, the Second Amendment.
Go ahead. Yeah, Second Amendment.
The Second Amendment, we know what will happen there. Thank God we have some judges in that are finally making some sense.
Right.
As far as the medical freedom stuff, Roe versus Wade and all of that, well, you know, God has given us choices. And I was talking to a very godly person talking about this. And am I for abortion? Like, do I agree with it? No, I do not. But I'm not the one that's going to judge, and I'm not the one that they're going to have to look at. As a very godly woman told me, you know what? No, we don't have to agree with abortion. But God gives us choices. It made a lot of sense to me. God gives us a choice to do what we think.
Right.
Should abortion fully be outlawed? No. There are medical cases. There's cases of rape, incest. There's a lot of things that need to be looked at before it's just outlawed everywhere.
Right.
You know, people are going to probably jump on my rear end for that one that are conservative. But you know what? If you've ever been around a person that was raped and they got pregnant, you might understand it.
Right.
If you're ever around a husband and he's sitting there crying because he's going to possibly lose his wife and his child both because of the new rules, you might understand it. And I talked to a guy not too long ago about this online. He was crying because he's got to take his wife to a different state. Because if she doesn't have the abortion, the doctors do not believe the child will live. And if she has a child, she won't survive. So before you go throwing stones at people about abortion, think about this. The medical side of it, the rape side, the incest side, We can't make the decisions for those people.
Right.
The traumas and stuff that come along with that. Do I believe abortion should be used as a contraceptive? No. That's not what it was meant for. Never should have been allowed. No.
Right.
If you want to go out and have sex with somebody, protect yourself, or you realize at that point you made the decision to do this, you may have to deal with the repercussions and the responsibilities that may come after it.
Right.
You know as well as I do, Jim, I'm probably going to get jumped about that one.
Well, no, the problem is that it's us actually having an open conversation where you feel like you can only be on one side or the other. But the problem is that there are things that we can't have these absolutes. But the problem is that's the world they live in. When they have the absolute that it doesn't, it's up to 18 years of age. Like there's even people out that say that, abortion should be legal to 18 years of age. Well, first of all, no kid's going to make it past 12 or 13 in their own house because everybody's going to, get rid of them, right? But at the same time, that's how extreme they go. They go to such extreme to say, well, it's up to 18 years of age. All we're saying is, hey, if there's a life or death risk here, let's be reasonable about this, and let's not marginalize that part of it, but have that genuine conversation. The problem is that they want to be so extreme, then we have to be so extreme, just hoping that we meet in the middle somewhere. And that's the sad part of it, is they only deal in extremes, and that's why it seems like everything is out of hand.
Yeah, and like I said, I've never heard the 18-year-old part. Once you have that, don't give me going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
We'd be here for hours.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But no, my kids are my angels. I thank God for every one of them.
Right.
I thank God for my grandkids. I thank God for all my nieces, my nephews, my great nieces and nephews. We'll go, yeah, that'd be a rabbit hole too. I've got way too much family. I have 4 step-sisters, 2 real sisters, and me. I'm the only boy and the youngest of all
Wow.
of us.
Man.
But know that I can't tell you I know every single answer to everything in this world.
Right.
I can't tell the Oregonians that I have all the answers. And any politician or any person that tells you they have all the answers for everything that needs to be fixed in a state, they are not being honest with you.
Right.
But if you think you have the answers, you think you know somebody that has the answers to what needs to be fixed here in Oregon, let me know. If you don't have the answers and I don't have the answers, let's find it together, or I'll find somebody that does. I ain't going to sit here and lie to people. I ain't going to sit here and say I have it all figured out. If I did, I'd already be a millionaire several times over.
Right.
So, that's my thing, Jim, is I'm just a blue-collar guy trying to make a difference.
Oh, I get it. No, it's awesome. Well, okay, so again, you only have the Facebook page, but that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And that is Edward Renfro, and you spell
Edward Renfro, Renfroe, 4,
right.
Oregon. And you should be actually find my group. I have a group that anybody can post in.
Right.
And I have my actual candidate page also. I did the group because sometimes with Facebook, they won't let just anybody post on a candidate public page for some reason. But the group page, I have a couple admins of that look into it. So do I. There are people that I trust. And that way, you know what? I have a place where Oregonians and people can voice their opinion. We can read it. We can look at it. We can sit down and have a conversation about it.
Right.
We need this openness when it comes to what's going on in every state. I don't care if it's just Oregon, Idaho, Washington. It doesn't matter. We need people to have this openness and be willing to sit down and have a conversation. It's not left. It's not right. It's not whatever ground there is.
Right.
Sit down and start having conversations. I was always told I had 2 of the most unbelievable grandparents in the world, my dad's parents.
Mm-hmm.
They lived every day by the Bible.
Right.
They walked it, they talked it, they lived it. But the thing that I will always remember and that my grandparents always told me was treat everybody the way you want to be treated. You don't always have to sit down and have an argument. But listen to them.
Right.
You know what they're talking about. Take time to get to know these people. You'd be surprised just how close your actual thoughts could be to theirs.
Right.
And you just didn't realize it because they're on the other side of the fence someplace.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, hey, we've gone just about an hour, so couple. If you want to close it up with a good statement here, like, okay, so we got the Facebook page, Edward Renfro for Congress on Facebook, and guys, go over there, like and follow the page on that. What he's got going on, and what do you want? Good closing statement for you. What do you want to wrap this up with?
I won't promise anybody the world, and I won't promise you I'll fix everything. The one thing I can guarantee you about me when it comes to the state of Oregon is I love this state. I want to make this state a better place for you, for me, for our kids. I want to make this a safer place. And I want to see all of us, be more prosperous and have better lives.
Absolutely.
And we can only do that if we work together doing it.
Yeah. No, that's perfect, man. Thank you so much. Well, Ed, it's been really great having you, and keep us informed on what's going on your candidacy as things are going along. We get closer to the election. I need to know, how we can help you, what you're going up against, and different things like that. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you, Jim. I sure appreciate your time and patience.
You bet, sir. Thank you for being here, and we'll talk to you soon, all right?
You too.
All right. See you, sir.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so again, let me get my stuff straightened up here. And, great guest we had today. This is the kind of thing that, when we talk to people about why they're running for office, when you talk about this, he didn't give me a bunch of canned answers. He gave me his heart. He talked about the things that he sees just driving down the road as a part of his life, what he grew up in, what he's seeing. And he understands that these big government things are really destroying people's lives, and they don't have to. We wouldn't have this downturn of population. We wouldn't have this downturn of cities and, mills being shut down. We wouldn't have that if we didn't have government in our way. And we look at the situation where they control us and manipulate us constantly. And we look back on it, we can see it as clear as day, but we got to stop it now, and we got to be mindful of it. And guys like Ed out there giving it his all and doing what he has to do as a grandfather and a father, this is what we want to see these guys doing. That's what we want to see. We want to see guys just like him in that house, because you know what? He's not that guy that can be controlled. He can't be manipulated. He's not a snake in the grass looking for another snake to hang out with. This is the kind of guys we're looking for. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. Remember the 10% we do for neighbor, community, city, county, state, the federal government. The more you do for them, the less they have to do for you. So learn how to be selfless and not so damn selfish. There will be a far, far better place. Remember, hold the line, hold fast. Do not give up. Do not give in. We will win. I promise you. I don't make promises I can't keep. Guys, I will be on the road tomorrow. I already have everything scheduled for the next couple of days. We're going to see what my travels hold for next week, if I will be in Arizona. I do have that trip. I do need to be out there in the next week or two. So right now it's kind of up in the air whether I'm going to be gone for next week or the week after. But then right after that, I do have a lot of events coming up where I need to be on the road in the weekends. So anyway, we're still looking for those 100. We're still trying to get to that 100 people doing $100 a month to help the Jim Price Show, keep things moving along. It does take quite a bit to make this thing happen, and we want to be able to travel more, and that means that we have to have the donations that bring all that in. I'm doing everything I can with affiliate programs from MyPillow, your coupon code's Price, Kirk Elliott, different places like that where I've actually sent a lot of people to be able to get some money rolling in from the Jim Price Show. Also, we have the merchandise stuff where we have the American-made products. Message me if you want to know about those. We'll get you lined up. These are the kind of things we have to be talking about constantly. And yes, I'm doing my part I can to help support the show and do those things, but we also need your guys' support as well. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I'm Jim Price, the Jim Price Show Daily Update. You guys all be good to each other, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.